What's up, everyone? Mr. NoobTube Gamer. Today we're playing Battlefield 5 in the year 2021. Perhaps the most hated game in the Battlefield series. This was actually the first Battlefield that I did not buy since Bad Company 2. I bought every Battlefield since Bad Company 2. That was my first Battlefield. And I bought Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Hardline, Battlefield 1. I loved all those games, but Battlefield 5, I was looking at the trailer, I was looking at the overall concept of the game, and I just wasn't impressed. I know a lot of people were really hung up on the whole social justice aspect of the game, having diversity and inclusion, having women in the game, and all that shit. I really didn't care. Like, that wasn't the deciding factor of me not buying the game, although I did think it was kind of ridiculous. I thought it was silly, and it was kind of immersion breaking, but at the same time, I had a lot of fun with Battlefield 1, and that game definitely took a lot of artistic liberty as far as recreating World War One. Battlefield 1's nothing like World War One. Of course, like, it's a video game, so there's going to be a balance between fun and realism, but if you look at the overall balancing and the overall presentation of Battlefield 1, having a lot of SMGs and close quarters engagement, that really wasn't a huge thing in World War One. It was more of a World War II thing, because in World War One, I guess theoretically SMGs were invented in 1918 or 1917, whatever year that World War One was at its height, but it wasn't really in mass production that every soldier had one, you know what I mean? So, like, that alone, having women in Battlefield 5, like, oh, it's not true to World War II. Well, Battlefield 1 wasn't true to World War 1, so I was willing to give the game a chance, even though I think it's kind of silly. Like, I laughed my ass off the other day, though, when I was playing Team Deathmatch, and I saw the top squad at the end of the game. It was a white dude, a black dude, and 2 Japanese. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? So it can be a little bit ridiculous and absurd, but as long as the gameplay is fun, as long as you have a good time, that doesn't really matter. And I do have to say that Battlefield 5, you can have a lot of fun in this game. Despite all the hate that it got from the community, it's not a terrible game. It really isn't. It's a lot of fun, actually. I actually have a lot of fun playing this game in 2021. The gunplay is probably the best we've ever seen from the Battlefield series. It's just so responsive. It's actually more consistent than Battlefield 1, where the recoil was just so fucking random in that game that it was very frustrating at times. In Battlefield 5, it's a lot more smooth, it's a lot more responsive, and the time to kill, of course, is really fast, and that's one thing. They fucked with the time to kill. They made it a lot slower, and a lot of people left the game and quit, so they had to change it back to the way it was. So DICE definitely didn't help as far as the popularity of this game. But at the same time, among all the controversy, despite all the players leaving the game and all the shit that's been going on over the years, you actually still have a very healthy player base in 2021, which isn't very surprising considering that Battlefield 5 is it's still the newest game in the series. We haven't had a Battlefield game since Battlefield 5. I assume that when the new Battlefield game comes out in, I guess, this year, I don't know if it's this year or next year, whenever it's supposed to be, I guess at that point, the player base might start to drop off. But as of right now, since Battlefield 5 is the newest game in the series, on PC, the player base is still very healthy. Almost every game mode you can think of, you can still find a full server in 2021. Obviously, there are plenty of full Conquest servers, but there are also full servers for Frontlines, Breakthrough, Domination, and obviously Team Deathmatch, which is what you see on the screen right now. Even Operations has a lot of players. Like, I would say 3 or 4 full servers for each region. I saw a bunch of full Turkish servers for Breakthrough. So, yeah, there's still plenty of people playing this game in 2021. The only part of Battlefield 5 that is dead at this point is the Firestorm Battle Royale, which is a shame because if you think about what makes Battle Royale so fun, it has, you have the large-scale battles, first of all, with 100 players or 64 players, however many players you have, but it's a lot of players in the same game at the same time, and then you have vehicles, and then you have helicopters. Like, that's the shit that we've been seeing in the Battlefield series for so many years. That was a formula perfected by DICE for so long, that the fact that we weren't able to get Battlefield to be translated into a Battle Royale, I feel like that's such a huge missed opportunity. The whole game, really, the Battlefield 5 was a missed opportunity, but especially the Battle Royale. It could have been something huge because literally that's what Battlefield has always been. That's the Battlefield formulas. Large-scale battles, vehicle combat, and that's pretty much what Battle Royale is, except instead of conquest, it's a free-for-all. That's really the only difference. And you also have loot and picking up weapons and shit. You know, the thing is, if you actually play Firestorm, if you actually played it back then, it was a lot of fun. Firestorm was really cool. The only thing, though, is that you only had one map. The game mode didn't have a lot of support. It didn't get nearly as much content as the competitors, like think of Apex Legends or even Blackout at the time in Black Ops 4. And just the overall idea of having a Battle Royale locked behind a $60 paywall, people just aren't willing to pay that money in order to access Battle Royale when all the other popular ones are free, like Fortnite and now Warzone. So definitely do not try to play this game for Battle Royale because you'll be lucky if you get like 4 players in the same match, and that's a giant-ass map. You spend the whole time just looking for someone to kill. It's not very fun. At least in H1Z1, because that's another dead Battle Royale, at least in that game, they scale the map down to size to accommodate the smaller players. But in Firestorm, it's just like, no, 4 people in the same giant-ass map just spending the whole time looking for each other. It's not fun in 2021. But I think the rest of the game is. I love the weapons in this game so much. I just like the overall gunplay, the gameplay, and the maps, while they're definitely not the best we've seen in the Battlefield series, they're still a lot of fun. And because all the game modes are still alive in 2021, you'll have a lot of variety. So I would say definitely check this game out if you're curious about it. And, you know, just ignore all the negative stuff you've heard about it, because, yeah, I do agree that it definitely isn't the best that we've seen from the Battlefield series, but most of my frustration towards the game isn't necessarily that it's boring or not fun to play. That's how I feel about Black Ops Cold War at the moment. I haven't played that game in over 2 months just because of how fucking boring that shit is. But Battlefield 5 is not boring. It's actually a lot of fun. It's just, I feel like they could have done so much more with the game. Like Battlefront 2. DICE did so much with Battlefront 2. If we got the same amount of content that they got into Battlefront 2 in Battlefield 5, I feel like the game would be ranked so much higher as far as, you know, how it ranks with all the Battlefield games. So, I mean, I really would, like, if I had to play between this game or Battlefield 1 or even Battlefield 4 or 3, I would probably choose the other ones above this one, like, every single time. But if you're curious, if you're just kind of bored with all those games and you want to play something else, you really can't go wrong with Battlefield 5. If you go on Steam right now, they try to charge like $50 for it. You'd be a fool to spend that much money on the game. You know, even though it's not like a bad game, that's just way too much money for it. I would recommend that, really, if you have EA Play, that's the best way to get it, because that's how I'm playing it. I never actually bought this game. It just came with my subscription. And also, if you have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, it's also included. But if you don't have any of those subscriptions, I wouldn't recommend you putting anything more than like $20 into this game, because it does really feel like a downgrade compared to Battlefield 1, because Battlefield 1 just has so much more content, and it just feels like a more complete game than Battlefield 5. Not to say that Battlefield 5 didn't bring some new things to the table, because we got the ability to rebuild structures, which I think is actually really cool. Because as much as I love destructibility in the Battlefield series, we all love blowing shit up in Battlefield. That's like one of the main reasons why we play the game in the first place. But sometimes it gets to a point where if everything's destroyed, you have no cover, and the gameplay is a little bit less enjoyable as a result. So being able to rebuild certain things is actually really cool, and I like that they did that in Battlefield 5. And also the way they integrated teamwork into BF5, having this buddy system now in the Battlefield series. Very similar to Medal of Honor Warfighter, if you guys ever played that game before. It's just integrated so well, where you actually have an incentive to stick with your squad, because even if you're not a medic, you can always revive your squad mates, and you can always, it's just so easy to give them ammo, to give them medical supplies. It's just integrated so well that I hope that we see more of that in the next Battlefield game. So Battlefield 5 has a great foundation. It's just that it could have been so much more. It really could have. DICE could have put so much more effort into the game, but for some reason, it kind of got fucked up. But it's still a decent game. It's still a fun time in 2021, and you might as well check it out if you haven't already. But that pretty much wraps up today's video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.